Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Merrillville Town Council meeting for today, Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. Please stand for our invocation and remain standing for a moment of silence.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. Father, we thank you for the grace upon the town of Merrillville and for those who you've allowed to serve in positions of leadership and authority. And we ask that you would be with these, oh God, who are leading the town. We ask your blessings, oh God, upon our council, upon our president, our blessings upon our chief police and our commissioner. Give them, oh God, the safety, the protection, the wisdom, the grace to be able to navigate and to keep the citizenship of this town safe. We thank you, Father, for favor upon the town, even where dollars are concerned for businesses and services that are necessary. Bless them, oh God, in their collaboration. We thank you for unity, peace. We thank you for your grace to build a city, a town. Lord, you said those who build without you, their labor is in vain. Bless the meeting, bless the dialogue. Let it be healthy and let it be blessed in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Commissioner Ward, would you lead us tonight in our pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on tonight to the roll call of the council. Madam Clerk Treasurer.
Councilman Spann. Vice President Hardaway.
Here.
Councilman Minchuk.
Here.
Councilwoman Uselak. Here. Councilman Pettit.
Here.
Councilman White.
Here.
President Bella.
Here. 6 here. We have a quorum for the meeting. Moving on tonight to petitions, communications, acknowledgements, and remonstrations. Item number 1 is the approval and signing of the FOP collective bargaining agreement. Councilman Minchuk.
Mr. President, after a long session of negotiations, which ended in a great agreement, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we accept the collective bargaining agreement as agreed upon and presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Minchuk with a second by Mr. Hardaway for approval of the Town of Merrillville FOP collective bargaining agreement. Is there any discussion by the council? Hearing none. This is a contract. Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Vice President Hardaway.
Yes.
Councilman Minchuk.
Yes.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilman White.
Yes.
President Bella.
Yes. 6 ayes, the motion carries. I'd like to call to the signing table FOP President Sean Lito, FOP Secretary Josh Miskus, and Counselor retired Cherville Police Chief David Dowling. And Chief Curtino, would you please join us at your respective place?
As the FOP collective bargaining agreement is signed, I wanted to share with you that the Merrillville Police Department was formed on January 10th, 1973, just over 50 years ago. Then, only 13 officers joined the department. Officers Lester Sheridan, Dan Demon, Joseph Guzik, Robert Hamady, Jerry McCory, Harry Warrens, Paul D. Haven, Fred Stanmate, Robert Horan, Mark Drake, Jim Pulling, Carl Bajas, and Don Markle made up the first 13 officers. Lester Sheridan was the first Merrillville police chief coming from the town from the Indiana State Police, where he served 19 years. It was not an easy task, as most newly hired officers had little to no experience. However, in true Merrillville tradition, Chief Sheridan found a way to make it work. Numerous others followed in his footsteps, continuing his work. It has been a long journey, solely focused on providing the best possible police services for the residents of Merrillville, its visitors, and business community. Today, the department is under the careful watch of Chief Wiley Luther Catino, and it has grown to 61 sworn officers along with 6 civilian employees. The department has 2 main divisions, patrol and investigations. Within those divisions, patrolmen, detectives, a K-9 unit, task force, and tactical unit. The department strives to move forward, adapting in the ever-changing environment and evolving criminal element. Our police officers take pride in serving the community and keeping everyone safe. The FOP, was first formed after 2 Pittsburgh Police Department police officers met on a street corner and discussed what has become here today. The FOP Lodge 168 was formed. The department, along with the original membership, met in the basements of each other's houses, having meetings in those early days. The FOP is the world's largest organization of sworn law enforcement officers, with more than 325,000 members in more than 2,100 lodges across the United States. They are the voice of those who dedicate their lives protecting and serving our communities. The agreement being signed has been negotiated in good faith with all members of the town council and the FOP working to make the department equitable with more neighboring departments in our region. This contract will get us closer to the goal as we continue to seek other sources of funding and find new and creative ways of purchasing ongoing equipment needs, modernize our department, and increase pay and benefits for our officers. We are proud today of this contract, but realize there is much more work to do. Thank you, everyone who has worked together to make this contract possible. Mr. President, it's back in your hands.
Thank you, Mr. Minchuk. Tonight's a very special night, and I wanted to explain that we signed our contract with a special pen. It is actually a brass casing from a bullet. You all know the story about the pen is mightier than the sword. Well, tonight in modern times, this pen is mightier than a bullet. And what I'd like you to do, Sean, is if you ever have a problem with the town, just look at your pen, remember to reach out and jot a note to us. Call us, text us, let's talk about it, and sit down and work it out. And that's what this represents tonight. And what I'd like to do is give you my pen, and I'd like your pen from you. So we each have this pen that we each signed the contract with. Thank you. Josh, would you mind switching with the chief? Counselors, would you please switch the pens? Council members, please open the envelopes that says you.
Oh, man. That was a hard one.
I told you.
Here, you want to switch?
Look like a-
You want to switch?
We could,
There you go. I'll switch with you.
okay, we switch. Are you gonna leave that one too?
No, I'm going to take it home and never bring it out, because I will lose it.
You can't keep giving you all.
Well, no, I keep my nice things at home.
Thought it was like a double tree. You say don't
Okay, they-
normally do it, right?
We'll have a conversation.
It's pretty neat looking, though.
It's nice looking.
I like it.
Oh, boy.
What am I doing here?
What's blue? What do you think?
Nice little case.
Yeah, it is.
I know, I'm carrying.
Oh, it's supposed to be like a little rifle case.
Yeah, you can put like bullets in
Oh, locks. It locks because it's a
I know.
bullet.
Right, right.
Okay.
You gotta pull it like this, see the edges.
Yep. Enemy vendor report. Oh, Lord.
They had 2 days, Saturday and Sunday.
I honestly don't know.
They had, it looks like they had police from everywhere.
Hey, Dave, how you doing, man?
David, good to see you.
Hi.
How's Katie? Where?
Oh, okay.
Is she really? Oh, you guys moved? Yeah. Who's got the house? We sold it. Did you? Okay. Thank you. I thought her brother would have taken it. No? Does he?
Hey, good seeing you again.
Mr. Svetnoff, I have a contract for you.
Oh, thank you.
Make sure we honor that, please.
Definitely.
Okay. Thank you for your indulgence, audience, appreciate that. Moving on to the next item, we have a report from Waste Management from LFAM, and it's quite troubling. We really have a trash problem in our town, and here's what I mean. We have 644 homes that are delinquent in paying for their trash pickup. This is an updated figure. The total owed is $89,000 to Waste Management. Last year, Waste Management had to write off $82,700 in losses because of our residency not paying their bills. This causes all of us to pay more in trash removal, and it's a real problem. I'd like the council and legal counsel to look into what we could do, how we can correct this problem, how we can enforce it with an ordinance or any kind of town law to make sure people pay their bills. We may want to talk about centralized billing going through the clerk's office too. So I'm bringing it to our attention. It's a problem, and we need to address it as soon as possible. Comments?
Lien.
That's, yeah.
Can we do a lien, Joe? Well, I know, but we've got,
Garbage lien, but you may want to, we have an option. I'll talk to you about it.
Mr. President,
Mr. White?
yes, of course, people owe in the terms of things, but I want Waste Management to do a better job in collecting the waste that people are paying. One of the situations for me is that when they do lift those overhead vehicles, there's always some paper that's flying everywhere. So I think we should look at how to keep their feet to the fire to make sure that we don't have to have Public Works come out and pick these things up. In the terms of putting liens on people's property, or
Unless you're gonna collect it.
I think that Waste Management should take that
Well,
that
that's-
lead. If I owe you money, then specifically you should sue me specifically.
We probably, Mr. President, we probably need, and since it's a contract, Joe, I would hope it would fall under the caveat, we probably need an executive session with Waste Management.
Well,
But the contract's coming up. We've all had problems in our neighborhood. We have problems with the cans. I personally, again, this morning, every Tuesday at 5:30, they're in my subdivision. Every Tuesday, without fail. I could set my clock and I could get up with those guys and push my cart out at 5:30, and I wouldn't miss my trash pickup, because I know they're in the neighborhood. They don't listen. We've had this discussion with them before, Pat, and we had it when Bruce was there. And we had it with Ileana, Rich, when we first started this thing, how many years ago? We thought we were doing the right thing by having one hauler in town, not putting stress on the streets and the roads and, dumping stuff. And we're right back in the same boat we were with the other hauler.
well, Mr. Pettit, what we might do is we might send this out for bid next time. And when we send it out for bid, we might have to consider that the noncompliance by Waste Management might render them, if they're the lowest bidder, as non-responsive and go from there. I mean, we have tools in our toolbox, so.
Well, it's front and center now, for sure. My whole point of this is, you may see trash sitting at your neighbor's property with the garbage truck driving right by it because they're going to stop service. And think about that for a minute. 644 homes, that's a lot of trash sitting at the curbside that's not going to get picked up. This is not a good look for the town of Merrillville or for the residents who live here. So this needs to be rectified as soon as
Did they give
possible.
you a list of addresses?
We're getting that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that list.
And the other comments we talked about was maybe code enforcement can be the ones knocking on doors with information about you're delinquent on your trash pickup, that's why it's sitting at the curbside. But that's just gonna blow around too.
Absolutely.
Councilman White.
It's going to make it worse,
Problem.
actually. Mr. President, additionally, one of the things I think we need to look at, I think I've seen it in the email threads about the bulk waste. I don't think that's set on how that actually works.
Yeah, Pat's gonna actually talk about that tonight under his report.
Okay, no more questions.
Thank you. Moving on tonight, we have the letter from the Town Engineering Administrator endorsing Core Construction's recommendation to approve payment.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We're not gonna go through that.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Hardaway with a second by Mr. Pettit, was it?
Yes.
Total amount is $94,590.41. Anything else to add, Steve?
Not at this time, no.
Very good. Any questions or comments on the motion?
Mr. President,
Mr. White?
so here's a question that I do have in the terms of, as we're continuing to pay these bills, are these back bills or are these like ongoing things that they're?
These are wrap-ups, aren't they, Steve?
Yeah, these are wrap-ups. These are ongoing things. They're not back bills.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Moving on tonight to the consent agenda, we have the accounts payable voucher approval for April 12th and the approval of the town council meeting minutes of March 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mr. Hardaway for approval of the consent agenda as submitted. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Moving on tonight to standing and special committees, Budget and Finance, Mr. Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. In your spots tonight, gentlemen and lady, you found a request for qualification. No, you found for the grant application, the ARP residential business and grant application process. I'd like for everyone to read it, and if you have any questions, get back to me or Trista or Kiana Davis that's in Building and Planning, because we would like to approve this at our next council meeting. I don't know if Kelly has a copy of it, ma'am, but we'll make sure she gets one. So that way, if you have any questions, because I think we are just about ready to roll this out. And I just ask that we read it thoroughly to make sure that we've covered everything that we need to cover. And so that when we do roll it out, all of the questions that the residents will have should be right here in this document. You've seen it, Joe. I know you've read it.
Yes.
And I know that you've read it, and Trista's read it, and Kiana's read it on numerous occasions. So the last step in this process is for us collectively to read it so that we can make sure that we fully understand, because we will get questions from our residents, and we just want to make sure that we are well-versed on this process. So if you have any questions, give us a call, and if not, we hopefully next council meeting on the 26th, we will be making a motion to approve this.
You want this on the agenda, Mr. Hardaway?
Yes, sir, thank you. Give this to her for
We
Kelly.
will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to Council Affairs, Councilman Pettit.
No report.
Public Works and Utilities, Mr. Minchuk.
Yes, we did have a meeting last week. We went over some items that we want to go over with the street department. Once we get that more finalized and a little more direction, I'll be reporting to the rest of the council what we want to do.
Very good. Elections, Public Relations, Town Beautification, Mr. Pettit.
Mr. President, I'm going to turn it over to either Matt or Steve on the landscaping out front here at Town Hall. Matt?
Matt.
Yeah, Hubinger's is in process. They're going to get the plants in the spring. We're looking at a contract for maintenance after that. And so they're pretty much on schedule with
Okay.
this project.
And they had the same contract along 93rd Avenue, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Have you noticed, Mr. Pettit, though, our 93rd Avenue plants look a little stressed from the
Yep.
winter? I think
Well,
you need to
what
take a look
happens
at
is
it.
the dead stuff that's there now, that gets cut off, and then new growth comes up after that. They're perennials. So you're going to see the growth from last year right now. But that's one of the things in the contract for Hubinger's would be to take the dead growth away, weed everything, remulch, water, and take care of it. So,
Take a drive-by to yourself, Matt. Take a look.
okay.
Some of the bushes are,
And then we still, Steve, we still need to get, you and Leonard and I, we need to get the committee back together on the 3 bridges with the branding. I think Bob Sandy was supposed to be looking into some NDOT items for us.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll regroup on that. I'll get with Bob, get an update, we'll regroup on that, and we'll get back with you.
Okay, and obviously, we are now in election season. Specifically, I believe, Sheila, by ordinance, we are in yard sign season since we're 30 days out. People are allowed to put their yard signs out. I think that as by ordinance, if they're in public right-of-way, we are removing those at Public Works, and we're contacting the candidate that they can pick those up at Public Works, correct, Steve?
That is correct.
All right, May 3rd is the election, primary election. Okay. They're in easements, they're in right-of-way, they're, yeah. So, someone once told me yard signs don't vote, Margie, I don't know, is that true?
Well, I couldn't tell you.
Good.
All right, that's all.
Steve, is this a typical problem in other communities too? Is all these signs all over blocking the traffic viewing and routes and things?
Absolutely. This
Okay.
is all over Lake County.
Do we do anything to educate the candidates when they do show up to pick up their signs that were removed?
We just remind them of the ordinance we have and you know, how their signs cannot be placed, you know, in public right of way. And make sure, you know, that, I like to tell them too, and being new to this, I just started they need to make sure they're up to speed with the Indiana, the Indiana codes and things of that nature, and they're displayed properly. And again, we do make the courtesy phone call to the candidates and explain it to them. And, we do, if they choose to remove them, that's fine. We remove what we can. We take them to Public Works, so we give them an opportunity. We don't hold on to them forever, but we give them an opportunity, to come pick those signs up and distribute in the proper places.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Mr. White?
on 61st Avenue, right before you exit going south on I-65, specifically maybe like Kentucky Street, I've had some conversations with some of the constituents over there, and I think, and I agree with them actually, that as you enter their subdivision, it doesn't look really good. So I don't know if that falls under the town beautification, or how do we address that? Because right now it just looks like it's a tire laying there, and I think sometimes the Indiana Department of Transportation use their street barrels there. So
Okay, so,
give me some guidance on that.
yeah, you're sitting next to the chairman.
Yeah, I could tell you, Leonard, from experience on the Plan Commission, that, and I'm not sure where their property line goes, that strip of land, we have a billboard there on the west side of I-65 from 61st down to almost Hidden Lake is owned by the Boys and Girls Club. And that was going to be a passive park, and Rich is nodding, he remembers that when we did that, back when Mr. Whiting was sitting in your chair as Ward 7 councilman. So I guess Pat and Steve and I, we can talk to the folks and see if they can cut that back, I guess, down, talk to the property owner. But I'm pretty sure Boys and Girls Club owns that strip. They got it from Ron Shaver.
Yeah, even as you enter Ellendale there, just a little
Yeah, I know where you're
west
talking. Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
Does that still Boys and Girls?
As far as I know, yeah. We can have Pat and Steve check the GIS map, but I'm pretty sure that's Boys and Girls property.
Yeah, let's talk about it. See
Okay, thank you. No more questions on that.
Anything else, Mr. Pettit?
That's all.
Environmental Affairs, Mr. White?
Yes, Mr. President, I just have a smaller update on the COVID. The little brother's out again a little bit. I'm not saying brother, but the little brother. Actually, it says BA1 now, and initially was a BA2. Now it's a BA1, but as you can see nationwide, you're starting to see a lot of the, excuse me, I hope that wasn't one. You're seeing a lot of our leaders, they're catching it, even though they've been vaccinated. So I'm just going to give a short of what Lake County is right now. Looking in the terms of the positivity rate, it went up just a little bit, 6%, I think, because there is some things happening. And in the terms of deaths, I think we had 3 deaths in the past 5 days. And I think those are basically in long-term facilities. Additionally, the metrics for the map for Indiana, we went from blue to kind of a yellowish orange. So there is some movement in terms of how this thing is morphing into other issues. Additionally, if you need anyone need any additional information, they can Google the Indiana Department of Health, that dashboard. It will give you just a whole array of things. Did you have anything you want to add to that, Marge?
Oh, well, the Board of Health is looking into a second booster shot for anybody over the age of 55 or 60. And the negativity rate right now in Lake County is 2%. We had only 6 people that passed away, like you said, last week. So it has gone down tremendously, but still be careful. That's it. Thank you.
Nothing else to add from that particular point in the terms of the COVID. I want to get, again, I think as it gets a little warmer and it dries up a little bit, I want to go out to my favorite places, compost facility, and see how the operations is working.
Yeah, anytime you're ready, Councilman White will take you out there. IDEM was just out there. I think they were out there last week, about 2-3 days.
They have any complaints?
No, not at all. We passed the inspection with flying colors, and they also made a comment where there's a lot of out around the compost site. There's a lot of nesting cranes out there now, and they actually made a nice comment about the cranes. So.
All righty. Well, thank you, Mr. Steve. And Mr. President, I don't have anything else to add to that portion of environmental affairs.
Thank you. Personnel Policy and Employee Benefits, Mr. Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. For Steve and Torrance, we need to have a conversation about your summer hire needs,
Yes,
sooner rather than later.
absolutely.
Hopefully before next council meeting, because we're gonna run out of time here. Kids are gonna start getting home here within the next, probably around the 1st or 2nd of May. So if we're gonna be able to offer any jobs, then I think we should be in a position to hire kids at that particular time. So let me know. We'll get together and I'll contact Marge and Sean. They're part of the committee. And we'll sit down and we'll brainstorm what your guys' needs are and how we're going to go about doing that.
Okay.
All right?
Yes.
Lawrence? Thank you.
Yes, this question is, well, either.
White.
Yes, Mr. President. So is these summer jobs going to be specifically to the community center, or are there going to be other summer jobs too?
Public Works and the community center.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Hardaway?
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Public Safety, Mr. Minchuk.
Yeah, we're pretty busy. Just, again, thank you to everybody who participated in the collective bargaining agreement. I'd like to thank the councilman that did show up to help out. I really appreciate the ones who did. The FOP for the mutual understanding we had between us and with the agreement we came to. Just a reminder to the rest of the council, it was a one-year contract, so we'll be starting this process again very soon, just to stay ahead of the game. We did have our public safety meeting last week. The hot topic, of course, was the South Station for police and fire. We were able to narrow down some wants, locations, and things we would like to see. We were able to narrow that down and kind of get it to where we would like it. We are looking out some avenues to see if those options are feasible or not. We are also looking into a few other things to see what we can or cannot do. Once we get some solid answers, we'll definitely report back.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Mr. White.
Thank you, Jeff. In the terms of the South Station, I really thought about it, and I thought like a cost factor there. And the reason I'm saying that is because sometimes we need to look at, and I think I discussed that with Pat earlier today, looking at mutual agreements that we have with communities, like a Crown Point or Winfield. Would that be more feasible in the terms of, the town of Merrillville spending dollars
we already have those in place with all neighboring communities.
Right, and so that's why I was saying is that they're right across the street, and they can be there in 5 minutes or less, and then our own fire department be there in 8 minutes, I think.
That's already in place.
Is it? No, so what I'm asking, in a sense, or inquiring about is, does it make sense to build something that is a good idea, actually, but the costs associated with that, and when we got those mutual agreements with other communities?
No.
Yeah, it's not to use them in lieu of taking care of our own residents with proper equipment and station locations. It's to assist with large fires and problems we have.
Right.
Our agreement with Crown Point actually is that they come to all of our calls, we go to their calls. So that's quite a mutual aid agreement all the time, anytime there's a call. So we need to have the equipment in the right place too, so that we can honor our mutual aid agreements with neighboring communities. So if Crown Point has a problem, we're not that close to get down there quick enough. The Taft Street station was probably the closest. So if something happens in southern Crown Point, we're really far away to even offer any aid. So some of that is to make sure our mutual aid is fair and equitable to every community.
Sure.
And this location, Councilman White, comes highly recommended from both Chief Yerga and Chief Catino, who were both at the public safety meeting. Ed laid out, again, we're investigating, but basically Ed laid out, based on the ISO rating and the 5-mile radius of what is out in what we refer to as the Panhandle, the subdivisions out there is Grassfield, Sandpiper, Windy Mill, Lincoln Mill, to respond to those areas in a timely fashion. He's kind of pinpointed where we need to be looking at, and we need to make some inquiries. I'm going to make some inquiries as a councilman on some property. But he says there's definitely a need for a south station out there, southwest or southeast.
The problem, I think,
station.
is Route 30, just getting across
Right, getting
Route
across 30, yeah.
safely to cut down response time.
Yeah, the ISO pretty much broke it down and showed where, how many calls you had, and then what particular location would be your best location to respond to those calls. So that's how we kind of narrowed that down.
Did they give you like a response time, actually?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're really interesting, those meetings, Leonard. You should maybe consider going to a couple, and you can talk to the chiefs themselves. And
Yeah, well, I have been hearing about it, and I do understand you guys have those meetings. Some of those meetings, I do have other things that I'm doing, but I had been hearing about it. And, my concern was, do we have to buy fire trucks? Do we have to get more employees?
Sure,
Well, that's a cost.
absolutely.
Well, that's a cost.
We're being proactive and thinking ahead. So, yeah, we're going to have to buy equipment, and just like the land behind us for a new town hall. It's just future planning, for sure. Can't be afraid of growth.
Oh, not afraid of growth. I just want to make sure that when we look at things of that nature, specifically around the Merrillville area, most of those buildings probably were built with super fiery, response situations inside those buildings.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's my question. Done.
Well, that's a good question.
All right, thanks.
Anything else, Mr. Minchuk?
That is all.
Thank you. Economic Development, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, we had a Economic Development Committee meeting, I guess it was last Tuesday, and we heard two petitions. One is for personal property tax abatement, and I guess since it was a public meeting, Patrick, I can go ahead and divulge that Chicago Magnesium has entered into a purchase agreement to buy the Fieldhouse building from Albany's, and they were part of the personal property tax petition that the committee recommended favorably. Pat will be bringing that to us here at the next meeting. They are a foundry. They manufacture parts for NASA and the aircraft industry. They are talking, Pat, correct me, almost a $7 million investment?
Total, pardon me, thank you, Councilman. Total project, land acquisition, building renovation, equipment is close to $9.5 million.
$9.5 million. Okay. And then secondly, on the agenda, we heard the real property tax abatement petition for Crow Holdings on the silos at Sanders Farm, the 195 acres on both sides of Mississippi, which we'll be acting on later on in the agenda.
Very good. Parks and Recreations, Mrs. Uselak.
Yes, thank you. I had a meeting last week with Torrance from the community center, and we talked about mowing all the parks in Merrillville, which will be done by Public Works, and Torrance will see to it the people from the community center will be involved too. He's also looking at hiring 2 more people, I believe. Is that right, Torrance? 2 more people you were looking at hiring?
That was Mike Neal and James Sanders looking for 2 more people for the summer.
Yes, 2 more people for the summer. And that was the gist of our meeting. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Marge. Abandoned and blighted properties, Councilman Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll turn to Vicki and I'll ask you, Vicki, that as you guys are out riding around, pay close attention to people that have garbage cans that are overflowing and it looks like they're not getting service. And then maybe we want to give them a warning or something or encourage them to go ahead and get the service so that we don't have this problem with these 644 homes that we got currently. We don't want that to grow. We'd like to see that go decrease. So whatever you and your people could do to secure that, I appreciate it. To just to let people know that we are aware that you're not getting it. And then the other thing that we may want to do too, we may want to find out how many of these 644 homes are rental properties. Because if they're rental properties, then we need to contact the owner of the home, and somehow he needs to incorporate that garbage rate into their rent so that we can make sure that they're getting the service. Okay? Thank you, ma'am. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Dean and Barbara White Community Center, Chairman, Mr. Pettit.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wow, what a weekend, Saturday and Sunday, Torrance. Unbelievable. Your staff was outstanding. For those that don't know, the center was absolutely packed to the brim. I think we used all 541 parking spaces Saturday. Epic United Volleyball Club had their Midwest Championships. We had teams in from Chicago, Wisconsin, Lafayette. In addition, our events coordinator, who continues to hit it out of the ballpark, had a craft show there. They had food trucks up against near Pop Warner, or near Weiss Field. I partook in the taco truck for dinner that night. I can't say enough about Torrance and his staff. Everything was taken care of. Everything was clean. I guess the only knock might be is that they ran out of Gatorade apparently Saturday night for the girls because they were playing late until about 7:30. So activity-wise, it's exactly what we thought it would be. Exactly what we thought it would be. On a physical side, Steve, I think you had sent us an email about the bleachers. Those are being ordered, correct, for the Weiss
Yes.
Field?
Yep, yeah, they're already on order. That email was just purely the color of the riser boards, which we all know what color that is.
We know what color that is, right, Jeffrey?
I shouldn't even ask, but I had to double check before, that's quite a large order, and I just wanted to double check before we place that order, so.
And we're still going to wrap that. As I was out at the food truck, the storage container, we're having that wrapped by the same gentleman that did the Pop Warner
Yeah.
Merrillville soccer, right?
Yeah, I've got to get that information to Torrance. I haven't got that. Yeah,
Okay.
we're going to use the same gentleman.
Okay, and then is the wallpaper project completed, Torrance?
Yes.
It is done, okay.
Looks good. Looks
Yeah.
good. I was in there the other day.
What color is it?
Blue.
It's burgundy. It's Merrillville burgundy, Jeff. This weekend, we are, the first time we are going to be sealing. Torrance, why don't you describe what we're doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with the center being closed with the courts?
It's our year maintenance that's going on. They're going to be resealing and polishing the entire court. So for the first 3 days, the entire building's going to be closed, including the workout area, due to the fumes. That's in danger to the citizens, so we close out everything. But then as the week go on, we will allow everybody to come back in to the workout area, but the court will be officially closed for the entire week.
Did you decide to close the Mike Anderson Event Center then as well this weekend, or?
We were assured that the fumes were not going to be an issue over on that side.
Okay, okay. I can't think of anything. Torrance, do you have anything else?
Yes, we've also, for spring break week, we had a week of where we had activities and things for the residents of Merrillville to come in and had games and things going on in the center. We've been blessed to have some college coaches come in and visit our center to watch Merrillville residents play for the potential of college scholarships. We've also had Merrillville residents be able to come in and participate with their trainers and different things going on there, with the eye on open gym starting back up after we get done with all the refurnishing of the floor.
Okay, Jeff, you have anything?
No, sir.
Leonard?
No, that's it, actually.
Can you tell us who the college coaches were that were?
We've had staffs from Illinois State, Michigan State, and Ancilla College, Trinity Lutheran University, and St. Bonaventure.
What about Florida State?
We had a guy there from Florida State. I'm not officially sure. He had a jacket on.
Yeah.
So I didn't want
He
to
was from
say.
Florida State. I
Okay,
talked to him.
okay.
You being recruited, Rich?
Yeah, I am.
Are you?
Point guard. Point guard. The over 70 group.
That's all, Mr. President, I think.
Well, I just want to say that I've lived here 55 years, and we never had any college coaches come to watch anybody play anywhere, except maybe at the Merrillville High School. This is huge, that we're drawing attention, to have coaches come here from all over the country to watch scrimmage games, to see what kind of talent is here in Merrillville. You know, that's really, really impressive. So, nice job, Torrance, on putting that together.
Yeah, I don't even think they want to Andrew.
Yeah, well,
Okay, no,
why would they go there?
That's
Why would they go there, Jeff? I mean,
Maryville had better players.
Absolutely, absolutely, Jeff.
you always want
Adam, we
go Pirates. Okay. Anyway, that's really cool.
Point of order, Mr. President. Councilman Minchuk, all due respect, I beg you differ.
Got a couple
There's a
Pirates
good
up
crop
there
of
watching.
athletes coming out of 5959 Broadway, also known as Andran.
Keep Bacon, town manager.
Thank you.
All right,
All right, that does end my report, Mr. President.
thank you. Special projects, you still have the floor. Oh, Mr. Hardaway.
Oh, a lot of stuff. We are continuing to move right along with our Juneteenth event. We meet this coming Thursday at 10 a.m. at the community center. And I want to emphasize for both the Juneteenth committee and the 4th of July parade committee that they are open to any Merrillville resident that wants to be a part of them, regardless of who you are. You're welcome to come and give your input as to what you would like to see done in either one of those events. For the Juneteenth, vendors' requests are starting to come in already. So people are already, letters went out, and we're starting to get the responses in now for that. For the parade committee, we sent out letters today. We probably sent the first 250 out today for looking for donations from the business community here in the town. Also, next month, first meeting in May the 10th, I think it is, we will have a municipal day for with MIS. So we'll be able to sit back and relax and let the 5th and 6th graders run the show for us. So I'm excited about that. Mrs. Bonham, the principal there, she's looking to have everything sealed up by the end of the month with her selecting who the students are and getting that information to us so that we can have name tags and certificates made for them already. So when they get here, they're going to go to, kids are going to go to the fire department. Whoever's going to be the fire chief is going to meet with the fire chief. Whoever's going to be the police chief is going to meet with Luther at the police department. They're going to meet with Torrance at community center, Matt at stormwater, and Mrs. Shine and Steve at Public Works, Mrs. Shine at Building and Planning, and Pat, Town Manager Administration. And so we're looking for a great time there. The kids are excited, and I think that we are excited as well. And then we're still in the planning process for our National Night Out. We haven't did a lot there yet because we got too much other stuff on the burner, but as soon as we get through with Juneteenth, then we'll be in full force with National Night Out.
Excellent.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hardaway. I do want to add, though, under your report, if I could, we started the second week of our final series of diversity training for town employees. There's 22 that still needed to go through the program. So this is the second week of the 4-week program. There were a couple police officers, though, that are going to get special training because police are special, as we know. The curriculum is going to be adjusted for their particular needs because they deal with different people on the streets. So not all of 22 will be done, but 20 will get finished. After this session, though, we're not going to be finished with this. This is going to be an ongoing commitment from the town, and we need to look at what the next phase of training or education is going to be about this topic. Okay?
That concludes me, Mr. President.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to department and commission reports. Lake County Solid Waste Management, Mr. White.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Lake County Solid Waste District had actually scheduled a meeting at the community center. We didn't get a quorum.
Okay.
So now they're feeling that, that we'll be in the building and ready to go. It's unfortunate, but one of the members from, I believe it was from Whiting, didn't get the email saying that the meeting had been canceled. So someone gave him a special tour there. He was like, I was happier with the tour than I would have been with the meeting. So whoever gave him that tour, yes, Bart, okay. So in the terms of the Solid Waste District, I was going to reach out to the Solid Waste District chairman. I need some dumpsters, and I think maybe they'll be able to provide those dumpsters. We need to do some heavy-duty cleaning ups in most of Merrillville, actually, but specifically, I want to target where I seen just like the bulk stuff sitting on the curb, and maybe people would throw these things out before, and specifically like yard waste. I see them people take yard waste across from one side of 57 and throw it in the Prusen Park, in the ditches and stuff. So that actually kind of restricts some of the flow. I think Matt may know about that, but I just want to make that clear in the terms when I'm going to reach out to the board members to see if we can get some dumpsters. Additionally, when I asked for additional dollars for the grants, it was kind of like, well, you're getting a grant. I'm like, yeah, but we're getting a grant from that was decided back in 1996. And gas certainly went up for almost $5 a gallon. For me, I went from $100 to $120, $130 to fill my truck up, so I'm not filling it all the way up. So nothing else with the Solid Waste District. Thank you.
How's the new office coming along, Mr. White?
It's coming along really well. I was there about a week ago. The only thing they had to pretty much finish was the carpeting. They've done some painting in there. And I just wanted to make sure people understood, too, they're not going to use the whole building. They're going to use some of that building to maybe lease out the front part of it to whoever may be interested in it. That would offset some of the costs of purchasing the building. So they're ready to go.
Good.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Northern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, Mr. Hardaway.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Stormwater Management Resources, Director Matt Lake.
Yeah, really quick. We've had a really positive response from the residents in the Meadowdale area with regards to the risk tree removal for Phase 1. They really do appreciate the proactive approach the town is taking to treating those hazards and mitigating that. We're also going full throttle on the engineering for Hickory Ridge Lake Regional Detention Basin project, and as well as we're putting out to bid the Taney Ditch Crossings project. And we just got our first bit of data from the microbac outfall monitoring. And so we're analyzing that right now, and we're focusing on Turkey Creek and Deep River, mostly for E. coli. That was kind of the impairment of concern according to IDM 303D list. And we're also looking at, we got engineering going on for Southmore Park. When that's done, we want to get with MCD, because if they're going to do sanitary improvements along in that area, we want to coordinate with them. Maybe we can, if the timing works out right, we're willing to wait for them to do construction at the same time.
At the pace they're going, I think that'd be possible.
Yeah, so we'll coordinate with them.
We've not seen the Phase 2 annexation, though.
Right. So
it's still in progress.
Yeah, we're still engineering phase right now, but we'll see. If the timing works out, it works out. But we're willing to kind of work with them on that and make sure the timing is working out with that. And Independence Street Phase 2, we're also doing engineering on. We got to start thinking about Arbor Day too. It's traditionally last Friday in April. You can do it anytime, but we'll have a proclamation ready for the next council event for that.
Great. Are you on target to plant 500 trees in the next 2 years?
Still waiting on the grant from U.S. Forest Service.
Okay.
Right now, we're looking at the risks and removing that first, and we'll look at select areas within town. Also getting some trees from some transmission line projects. They're taking some trees out within the right-of-way. I said we wanted replacements, so 1-to-1. So we'll have some trees from things like that as there's maintenance being done by utilities in town and trees are impacted. So we'll have to think about some areas that we want to plant trees, and then we can move forward from there for sure.
Great, thanks, Matt. South Shore Visitors and Convention Authority, our appointee is our town manager, Pat Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excuse me. Tomorrow morning, with collaboration from Northwest Indiana Forum, there'll be a legislative wrap-up. I believe that Angie and myself have been invited. We'll report back, and I'm sure that they'll have a report. I've been monitoring it throughout the session as opposed to sending you the voluminous updates. I think there'll be a summary, and we'll present that to you. We have our next month meeting, or April meeting, on the 21st, and I believe at that point we'll be able to talk about some other longer-term decisions being made at the Bureau. And, I just want to point out again that the Bureau does a great job of advocating for Northwest Indiana, particularly Lake County, of course, and Merrillville's right in the thick of that. I know that initially through personal meeting, but now professional, our community center, Barb, works really hard with that group to promote the area. So, thank you.
Pat, were you going to talk about the waste management?
Yes, I am, yeah. I might as well cover that right now.
Oh, thank you.
So in your packet, you have a one-pager supplied to us directly from Waste Management. And as opposed to staff, no offense, staff, including myself, misinterpreting their policy, we asked Waste Management for a copy of their bulletin on bulk item pickup. So you have it in your packet. And so I'm not gonna insult the council and read every item, but it speaks to major issues under acceptable large items, and in fairness and support of code enforcement, there's been some confusion over that lately. And this document lays out what that policy is. It then goes on to talk about what's unacceptable. And, we would encourage you to familiarize yourself with it. And as I passed out the list of waste management scofflaws, if you have any questions on this, you're the town council. You're free to call them directly, but I would say if you have questions on this sheet, again, dealing with bulk item pickup, call town administration, and then we will, as we customarily do, on your behalf and the citizens' behalf, call Waste Management. But we hope that with this document in your hand, it clarifies some questions.
When I spoke to Ella today, she did mention that one issue is, there's a 50-pound limit here on large items, and somebody did some home remodeling and put a 200-pound a window pane with the framework sitting on the curbside, and then the resident wondered why they didn't pick it up. Well, there's no way that the driver could even handle that, so there's still confusion on this. We need to make sure this is posted on the website, on our Facebook page, and available. Maybe some copies of this, Pat, even at the front door or something.
Well, what jumps out, Mr. President, real quick, is the acceptable versus unacceptable.
Right.
Items too large for one person to manage but what's acceptable is furniture and appliances. I don't know anybody by themselves that can take a refrigerator off a curbside as a large item pickup and lift it onto a truck by themselves. So you've already contradicted yourself right here, right off the bat.
I kind of like tend to disagree with you, because I've seen,
They use the
moving
arm,
companies now, when they bring in like refrigerators, freezers and stuff, one guy brings them in.
They do?
He straps it, he's got a strap or a harness, and he can just walk it downstairs or whatever. So,
Mr. President, what I know, I'm sorry, were you through?
go ahead.
Yes. What I notice is if you leave anything out there that long, the scrappers will definitely be looking for that refrigerator. I seen two hot water tanks out there. They were gone the next morning. So it really actually helped waste management by these guys. But that's not
a program.
right.
Yeah.
That's scrappers. So,
Miss.
so yeah, going back to what you're saying, Sean, I agree. It's hard for an individual to just take off and bring a refrigerator out there by itself or
Every
herself.
refrigerator, you'll see the guy bring it in.
Okay.
Well, NIPSCO will pay $50 to pick up a refrigerator if you call them. So I don't know if any of you know that. You call NIPSCO.
NIPSCO gonna pay,
Pick up the old refrigerator, and they will pay $50.
really?
Really.
Okay. That's
So
pretty
don't
good.
put it on the curb.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome, Rick.
Anything else, Mr. Reardon?
No, sir.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to the Fire Territory Board, Mr. Minchuk.
They have no meetings planned or scheduled at this time.
Okay. Department head reports. Angie. Chilcutt. Economic Development. I hear that's going on in town.
Yes, lots of fun economic development. I'd like to just announce that we have secured a date for the second annual job fair. It will be Thursday, July 21st, from 11 to 3 at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center. We're in the process of gathering and putting together marketing materials. The first step is going to send out a save the date to the past participants, and with that, in an effort to just get them thinking about it, and we're always welcoming businesses to provide donations and or prize giveaways for the event. Last year's event was a success, so we're looking to raise the bar.
Very good.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Vicki, Code Enforcement?
Well, I'll get on my soapbox a little bit here. It's grass cutting time now. So everybody needs to make sure that if they want to have somebody else cut their grass, now's a really good time for you to do that. You know, call somebody and call landscaping companies, because once you get into the grass cutting season, they're all too busy to do it. So now's a good time to set that up. Check and see if your lawnmower works, check and see if your weed whacker works, because all of that needs to be in order now. The grass isn't supposed to exceed 8 inches. That's front and back. Okay, so you can't just cut your front, you have to cut your back too, and they both have to stay maintained. Okay, so I'm hoping that's gonna help a little bit, that everybody's gonna be out there. Last year was actually a pretty good year for people cutting their grass, so that's all I have.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. White?
question for Vicki.
Go ahead.
Vicki, I probably could have told you this on the side, but I want to know if I'll be able to meet with you and your crew next week sometime out at the Ellendale area. I was in there this weekend, and I just think some things need to be addressed. But I'll talk to you about that. I just wanted to put it on the radar.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chief Catino, I understand that our license plate readers have really yielded some great results in our law enforcement recently. Could you please let us know how that's going?
Yes, it's been first of all, good evening, everyone. Yes, it's been a very busy last few days, in particular the last 2 days. Matter of fact, yesterday, we had a call from our neighboring community to the west on Route 30. They had a carjacking in their town. That party chose to come our way. And with our officers being trained in this system, they were able to gather and make contact with that vehicle and brought that offender into custody. We also had a second one on Route 30, same method, carjacking. Our systems was activated. We were able to locate that vehicle. And with a short pursuit, that vehicle and that suspect was apprehended in the city of Gary. So it's been active, and back in the day, it was 80% chance that doing this type of act, you can probably get away. Now you stand 80% chance of, if not more, being apprehended.
Wow, that's great.
Also, I'd just like to point out, this past weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we hosted a class at the North Station. It was put on by Mission One, and it was the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. As you can see, an uptick with first responders is increasing all over these United States. And it was great that they brought that class. We had a huge turnout from other firemen, other police departments, and it was very helpful. And they are looking forward to doing it for the citizens because a lot of citizens are asking for that service as well. With that being said, that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chief. Matt, anything else to add besides your other report?
No.
Torrance, anything else?
No.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. White?
I didn't know if you wanted to read this document from the prosecutor office, or did you?
I wasn't planning to.
Okay. I'm not going to read it, but here's what I will say. This came from the Bernard Carter, announcing that Merrillville's police chief have done a great job, along with his deputy and along with his officers. And anytime you get that recognition from the prosecutor, I think it's a big deal. And what I think is even a bigger deal is that we hired the chief to be in that position. I think it was a good decision, and now the results are starting to show. So I've never seen anything from a prosecutor, but I'm thinking the prosecutor know how many people are coming through there from Merrillville being prosecuted. So I just want to congratulate the chief and his deputy and his officers for doing a great job representing Merrillville and showing real leadership. I don't regret one day that we made you our chief or our deputy chief or any other decisions that you made. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of Leonard. If anybody else want to, congratulate you, that's fine. Nothing else to add.
Well, if I can touch in on that a little bit as well.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the acknowledgement by our Lake County Prosecutor's Office, but it's not on me, just on me. I commend our men and women of the Merrillville Police Department, because that's what they do. They go out there on a daily basis to keep our community safe. And I also would like to thank the citizens, because without their support, we wouldn't be in this position. So I'm looking forward to this same avenue continuing to increase. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheila, Planning and Building Department?
No report at this time.
Okay. Mr. King?
So I do have a small report. Pardon me. Unfortunately, everybody's favorite season is right around the corner, construction. We have several projects going on that are going to be going on in the town this year, including our community crossings project. The low bidder on that project was Reef Riley Construction. Just over $1.6 million. We'll be redoing Harrison Madison Street from the Gary Merrillville line to 68th Place. Construction for that is anticipated to start right after the first part of June. We're going to wait for school to let out to lessen the impact to the schools. There will be some local detours in place. The project will be done in segments. We'll get local detours and things up on the website. Residents will always have access to their homes. It'll be restricted. The areas will be restricted to so traffic can't move through the entire area, but residents will always be able to get to their homes, no matter what. Same thing out in the Panhandle, 83rd Avenue, from Randolph to the Merrillville-Hobart border. That is also part of our community crossings project. It will be handled the same way. There'll be some closures, some disruptions, detours. Those things will be posted on the website once those things are narrowed down. Residents, again, will always be able to get to their homes. Not a problem. Our 2022 local paving program, the bids were open last week. We have an apparent low bidder of Milestone Paving, just over $4.9 million. Estimated start date of early May. I know we're waiting on the bond funding to come in, which, what is it, end of April or something?
April 21st, I believe.
21st, okay.
Yep.
So we're just, we're waiting on the funding to come in, getting some schedules together. We'll be working wards 2 and 6 this year. We had an estimated budget of just over $5 million. So we'll watch the numbers as they come. Make sure we stay within budget. Also, we have we just started working on the punch list from last year's work. A lot of restoration work going on in the town from our contractor, Milestone, from last year. There's a few small projects that didn't get done because of weather that are going to get done. We're also going to be finishing the front parking lot. The front parking lot out here, seal coating, restriping. Well, we crack sealed it last year. The pavement's in decent shape where we were able to not resurface the front. However, we did do the back last year. Our sidewalk, we also have a sidewalk project that runs from 73rd Avenue to 80th Place along the east side of Broadway out here in front. That was awarded by NDOT to Gary Up Construction. Total cost is around, I think, coming at $875,000. That job is going to get started here once this utility relocation gets done for that project. Public Works, we're very busy. Spring cleanup's going on right now. Our leaf pickup is started this week. It goes through all of this week, all of next week. We'll run through the town one time. It's posted in the newsletter. So if any residents got any questions, they can read the newsletter. There's things they can drop off at the Public Works Department. Our north barn is open again to take branches. So if anybody, these are available if you didn't get one in the mail. These are available at our Public Works Department, 13 West 73rd Avenue. We get a lot of phone calls that we've been attending to as far as this program is concerned. So I have that. I had a bunch of notes here. Also, we are working with for the Whitcomb Street corridor. We got a lot of development coming through there between Route 30, 91st Avenue. We got Liberty Estates coming to the east side of that corridor. We've got potential developments coming to the west side. We all know there's some issues out there, site distance issues, lane width issues, things like that. Matt, Sheila, and I have worked together to put a request for qualifications together. I don't know if this got the packet or not. Did it, Pat? Did we put this in? I'm not sure. I don't know.
We're gonna address that under new business this
Okay,
evening,
that's fine. I
actually.
just,
Yeah.
okay.
Thanks.
So that's that one. I think other than that, that's all I have.
I asked you to talk about potholes this year and
Yes.
why in
Yes.
the world they're so bad
Yes.
all over town.
Yeah.
And you told me it had to do with the winter, thawing and freezing. Can you expound on that?
Yeah, the freeze-thaw cycle really took a toll on our roads this year, not only in our community, but every community. We had pretty mild winter. And the problem we ran into this year was, before these snowstorms we had warm days and we had a lot of rain. And that just wreaks havoc on our roads, especially when you take something that was marginal that could have lasted another 3, 4, 5 years. Once the water gets in there and with the warm weather, the rain, and just immediately freezing, it just took a toll on our roads. Bad. And we're not the only community that experienced this. Crown Point, Hobart, these are all people I have almost daily contact with. They're running into the same problems. So, things we thought, possibly could have made it, a few more years until we had to pave. We're not so sure about that now. We're seeing a lot of potholes, like you said. And we're addressing them temporarily with our coal patch material. Every day we got crews out coal patching. We do have a paving machine that we do patching in the spring, and we will do that. We'll be doing a lot more spot patching with our crews this year, probably than we normally do, just out of necessity. It's got to be done. It was a very strange winter with the warm temperatures and the rain, and then the immediate freezing. It really took a toll on our roads. So as the residents drive around and they see these things, don't feel you can't reach out and let us know about potholes, but to let the residents know we're one of every community in Lake County that's experienced these issues.
Steve, have you had conversations with NDOT yet? The right-hand lane for eastbound US 30 and the intersection at US 30 in Mississippi is, again, I know it's all over. Have you heard anything from NDOT about their side of the equation?
I haven't. I've had contact with when we have major issues. I do contact NDOT, and they have been out there several times. This is something I run across all the time, especially Route 30 in general. I mean, there's spots out there in Route 30 that just where the pavement's decent, and you just had a pop, in the middle of the road. But yeah, I've had conversations with NDOT. They've had crews out patching. They're trying to keep up as best they can, but I do keep in contact with them.
Steve, if I can ask you where we are with fixing some of the existing streets that were paved last year that already seem to have failed?
Yes.
I know we have bonds to protect us on such matters, but the thing is, they still have to get in and fix it. Otherwise, the street's going to crumble away again on a brand-new road. That's not good.
Yeah, so that is being addressed with the punch list that I just referred to.
All right.
The one street in particular you're referring to, Independence Street, that'll actually be evaluated tomorrow as to why that happened out there. And that will be addressed by the contractor, and they will make the necessary repairs.
And that's the same contractor
to make
that we
it new.
awarded to this year, right? Milestone?
Yes, yes. Yeah, they're aware. They know. Again, we spent a lot of money last year. Had a couple problems that we're addressing, and they know about it, and they're fully aware, and they will be addressed.
And then you also mentioned there was a few streets that weren't done last year because the winter kind of fell on us.
Yes.
Are those streets left over in the other wards going to be taken care of?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we still have money left over.
Oh, okay.
That we didn't spend, and that's what those are for. We did have a couple streets. Actually, Councilman Spanner called today, and I had talked to him. Particularly in his ward, there was 2 streets where Indiana American Water, pardon me, was going to replace water main on those streets, so he didn't pave them to accommodate Indiana American. They didn't get done.
69th Avenue, one of them, or 68th?
63rd. I know there's 2 on 63rd, 68th. I'd have to look at my list, Rick. But yeah, that I actually had that conversation with Ed Nichols and Justin Mount in the last couple of weeks to ensure that they're gonna do their part on getting these water main projects done, so we can get in there and get these streets done.
Perfect. Good.
Mr. President,
Mr.
this
White.
question is for Steve.
Mr. White, go ahead.
Yes. We have to, find a better way to, when we pay these people to do jobs, somebody has to check those things and make sure they're doing it the right way. Because those streets definitely shouldn't be starting to buckle and pop or whatever is going on right now.
Well, that's what the punch list is for, yeah.
Actually, I thought we hired an individual, and that was a specific job to make sure those things were done.
Absolutely.
So he's the one that's actually letting us know about that, is that right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. Mr. Stanley is a very experienced construction person. He's well aware of what happened on Independence Street over there, and then we're looking into it, and, it's construction. We'll get it repaired.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
No problem.
Additionally, I really appreciate you getting that situation for 57th and Broadway. They actually started to get that north-left turn signal there. I was out there today. I talked to a guy from the Indiana Department of Transportation. I think his name was Bob or something like that.
Okay.
So those guys are on it. I said maybe in a week we'll have a left turn signal going on 57. And what I think that's going to do is going to save a lot of accidents because these people are still flying through those lights. So I just want to let you know it's very appreciative that you got that real close to being done. Thanks. Nothing else.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Moving on tonight to general orders, we have a first reading ordinance 22-11. It's an ordinance of the town of Merrillville, amending ordinances 21-15, 21-10, and 20-16 in reference to the park user fees for the community center. The ordinance is before you. It's marked up with the red marks that I think Torrance put together for us.
It was our entire staff.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. We have a motion, Mr. Minchuk, with a second by Mr. Hardaway for approval on the first reading. Mr. Pettit, did your committee review this?
Yes.
You in favor of this?
Yes.
Well, that's good. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Vice President Hardaway,
Yes.
Councilman Minchuk,
Yes.
Councilwoman Yuzlak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilman White,
Yes.
President Bella.
Yes. The 6 ayes, motion carries. Does this need to be advertised? Do we need to read this on second reading?
It needs 2 readings.
Right.
It needs to be advertised because
Okay, thank you.
Because of the fee structure.
Thank you very much. Moving on tonight to resolutions, we have no second reading ordinances. Resolution 22-13, it's a preliminary resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Merrillville declaring an area in the town as an economic revitalization area and approving a real property tax abatement for the Sanders Farm parcel.
So moved.
Pettit?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mr. Hardaway for approval of this resolution. I think we should probably read a couple of these into the record and also the abate schedule, Mr. Pettit, if you can.
Okay, you want to read the whole resolution, or do you want to?
No, I'd say the first paragraph and then the year of deduction.
All right. Resolution 22-13 is a preliminary resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Merrillville, Indiana, declaring an area in the town as an economic revitalization area and approving a real property tax abatement for CRP CHI Sanders Farm Parcel Owner LLC. Whereas CRP CHI Sanders Farm Parcel Owner LLC and/or any affiliate thereof, collectively the company, is pursuing the construction of a redevelopment project consisting of a new Class A marquee industrial business park comprising approximately 2.3 million square feet across 5 buildings on an approximately 195-acre site known as the Silos at Sanders Farm, collectively the project, on property located east of I-65 between 93rd Avenue and 101st Avenue in the town of Merrillville. The town as further described in the map attached hereto as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference collectively the real property. Whereas the company has requested that real property be designated as an economic revitalization area in ERA for purposes of permitting real property tax deductions pursuant to IC 6-1.1-12.1 as amended. Whereas the company has further requested that the Town Council of the Town of Merrillville, Indiana approve a 10-year real property tax deduction schedule for the project, and that schedule is as follows. Year 1 will be 100% abated. Year 2 will be 100% abated. Year 3 will be 100% abated. Year 4, 87.5% abated. Year 5, 75% abated. Year 6, 62.5% abated. Year 7, 50% abated. Year 8, 37.5% abated. Year 9, 25% abated. Year 10, 12.5% abated. And then, of course, in year 11, they would pay a full property tax bill per our previous ordinance.
Sean, excuse me, Sean, is that an 11-year abatement?
It's 10, but
it's
the
11.
11th year,
Right.
they pay 100% of their tax bill, so it drops
Okay.
off.
Okay.
It's really a 10-year abatement, correct?
That's all.
Any other discussion by the council on this resolution? Is the petitioner here?
Good evening. Thanks for having me. As always, always nice to see everybody. We've had a great.
Who are you, sir?
I'm sorry. I see you so often that I just assume
We need to
everybody
tell everyone
knows
else.
me by now.
For the record, please.
Apologies. Matt Cruz, I lead the Midwest office for Crow Holdings Industrial. So the entity name, Sean, that you rattled off, that's our joint venture entity, but Crow Holdings Industrial is the developer. We've now developed 2 speculative buildings within the Ameriplex. We've had a great string of success pre-leasing both those buildings to some really big companies. Most recently, Big Lots will be leasing 261,000 feet, and they'll be setting up a regional distribution center within Ameriplex. We're actively working on a build-a-suit for that remaining 10 acres within the park, which would close out the investment in that first wave. And we've loved working with you all so much that we've decided to pursue the Sanders Farm. So that's 195 acres. It's 5 buildings, and this is quickly burgeoning into a Class A extension of the Chicago industrial market. Whereas before, I've been in this business 20 years, it's always been a threat that we're going to continue to steal businesses from Illinois, and it just hasn't really shown itself until now. And we're proud to say that we're a part of it, and we'd love to continue to do so. And so we've got 3 buildings planned right away, so we'll close April 29th. We'll break ground immediately on, there's $18 million with the utility infrastructure we need to kick off right away. So we're extending sanitary water all the way down from 93rd. Sanitary is coming even further from 86 all the way down to 101st. That'll open up that portion of town for future development. We've got to extend power. We've got to basically build a substation to enable NIPSCO to have a presence in that area. That alone right there, that substation is $13 million. NIPSCO is going to pay for half. We'll pay for 52%, so it's 52.48. So we're making a big dollar investment before we're even able to do anything on the property. And we'll have a 263,000 foot building, effectively the same as that we've had the 2 successful projects to date on. That will deliver right after the end of the year here. So we've got this precast problem. I won't go into details, but we'll have that first building deliver right about the end of the year. And then the region's first 1 million square foot speculative building will deliver shortly thereafter. So next summer, you'll have a big presence right there on I-65. We've already talked to a few tenants. Nothing is for certain now. One thing people don't understand that we all do, and I do this every day, most of what we do is built on spec, meaning we don't have a user for these buildings. So what we're asking for of the council tonight is that incentive to get people to come here and invest alongside our investment in the town of Merrillville. And they do so because the labor is phenomenal here. They can pull everybody from executives down to fork truck drivers. You've just got such a wide expanse of labor resources here. and we'd hate to see that go to other communities along I-65. So eventually, tax abatement weans off. I'll close with just a comparison. So right now, that 195 acres with ag tax exemption pays $10,000 in tax. So even during the 100% abatement years, and the abatement used to be five years of 100% abatement, we've leaned in and worked with staff and with the council to try to lean in, get those tax dollars coming in sooner. Even during that 3 years of 100% abatement, the tax revenue is about $318,000. So it's 30x what you're getting today as a farm. And then on top of that, you've got $100,000 of deduction fee payable to the town. So there's quite a bit of revenue coming in even during an abatement period. So we're proud, again, to work with you all and happy to answer any questions.
President, I'd like to thank Matt and Sean. They have been an outstanding success story in Ameriplex. And we are still in the process of molding the economic development agreement. One of the things that Matt and Sean and Crow understand that we've always stood by with tax abatement is we ask that you try and meet a 10% goal of hiring Merrillville residents, if qualified, for whatever companies come in. They will probably participate in the job fair that Angie alluded to. They did it when Midwest Tire came in and when Quality Pasta came in and Turbo Netrix came in. I'm sure they're going to pass that along to Big Lots as they become a tenant. These are the kind of businesses, the kind of developers we want in Merrillville, I want in Ward 6. I'd also like to say that Matt and Sean have stepped up, and although we had the Public Safety Committee meeting and we've identified where the South Station, they still will be participating with public safety equipment, and that'll be hammered out during the Economic Development Agreement. We've kicked around fire apparatus, possible ambulance. We need to get some costs from both Chief Catino and from Chief Yerga, and we'll finalize that. So we've got a developer that is bringing tax money in off the tax roll. One of the things I've stood by in my 20 years on the council is economic development and creating jobs for Merrillville residents, keeping the kids, when they graduate high school or they graduate Ivy Tech, they're working and building homes and buying homes in Merrillville, and that's what we want to see.
So, Mr. White, that kind of answers your question about how do we get equipment to place in these new fire stations and police departments. So this is what other communities are currently doing, partnering with developers to better the community.
And I feel better with the developers actually putting, as Sean's favorite word, skin in the game.
Yeah.
Because that's, I'm looking out for not just for his area, because it's all of Merrillville.
Of course.
And we have to look at the tax of our, the tax of, I want to say levy, but the tax rates in the terms of what homeowners pay for taxes. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with that.
And one last thing, Mr. President, I'd be remiss if I didn't, because Mr. Svetnoff will probably remind me of this. With economic incentives that are granted in the town of Merrillville through the tax abatement ordinances, real and personal, we have a project labor agreement ordinance with the Northwest Indiana Building Trades Council. And Matt and Sean are aware of that. They want to participate. That, in and of itself, you might have a union plumber that might be working on his 1 million square foot facility in 2 years that lives in Ward 7. You might have a carpenter, Jeff, that's going to build that 263,000 square foot building or work on that. So I appreciate that as well, Matt, that you guys are undertaking union contractors and or the PLA with Randy Palmatier.
Yep.
And I'm proud to report that I've already received an email on that from Crow, that they're actively seeking out Mr. Palmatier to negotiate out a PLA.
That's correct. Yep. So just waiting under draft from the union at this point. But just to know, we've signed PLAs and we've done all union projects to date.
You've done them in a Merrillplex. You're
Correct.
planning to carry them over to your 195 acre parcel.
That's correct. Yep. And proud to do so.
Right.
Best
You and Argo Murray, but
best way to get a building built, right?
correct.
Did any of us up here think we'd see a 1 million square foot building built in the town of Merrillville?
Yes.
Did?
Just for scale, that's 22 football fields under one roof.
Actually, you're gonna make me look for a job, okay? Just keep building that stuff out there, all right?
And you mentioned tax rate, if I could just take 30 seconds. So
Sure.
quickest way to lower your tax burden on your residents is to build buildings that don't bring people, that don't burden your schools. So these buildings pay taxes, provide jobs, don't bring additional population or students to your schools, meaning tax burden on residents goes down. So as these buildings continue to click on, they're all running on separate tax abatement schedules. So as they continue to click on over the next decade, the tax revenue this town generates is going to be dramatic, especially the school district.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Thank you very much, Matt, for
Thank you.
explaining that. It was really great. Any other discussion from the council? Hearing none on an important matter like this, let's take a roll call, please, Madam Clerk Treasurer. This is on Resolution 22-13.
Vice President Hardaway,
Yes.
Councilman Minchuk,
Yes.
Councilwoman Yuzlak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilman White,
Yes.
President Bella.
Yes. 6 ayes, that motion carries. Congratulations, Matt. Moving on tonight to item 10, the American Rescue Plan. We do have an AP voucher register summary for the purchases for April 12th. You see the pink sheet before you. This is mainly the monies that were used for the front door greeters.
Motion to approve, $2,112.50.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Hardaway, second by Mr. Pettit for approval of the ARP voucher. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries. Is there any BZA or large gathering actions before us tonight, Sheila?
No, Mr. President.
Is there any old business before us tonight? Hearing none, new business. I did talk to Sheila earlier. You have in your packets the request for qualifications for a traffic study.
Excuse me, Mr. President.
I'm sorry? Oh, okay, sure.
We have another addition to the ARP money.
We do?
It just brought to my attention, thank you, Trista. It is, the voucher amount is $111,155.15. That is for, some equipment, I think that you should have checks for.
Yes, I do, yes. Yes, sir, I have.
Okay.
Can I have the amount again, please, Mr. Hardaway?
$111,155.15.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And who's the vendor, please?
The vendors are SHI International Corporation, Arbor Metrics, Cinder and Company, Robinson Engineering, SHI International Corporation a second time, Kelly Chevy a second time, and the Card Services Center.
And Trista, why weren't these on the original list from the clerk treasurer's office?
Mr. President, I'm not sure. It's just the last page that I received in the packet from office staff before the meeting today.
What happened, Mr. President, is I signed those today. This afternoon, I signed those.
Well, what's on here on our second page?
The second page, yeah.
Is it?
Yep.
We just didn't read it separately.
I just didn't read it separately, that's on me.
Rich, you want to amend your motion?
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, I'll amend my
Should
motion.
we go back and revisit that?
Yeah, I would say repeal the last action taken and just start anew.
I withdraw my motion.
I'll withdraw my second.
And now I make a motion that we approve the ARP voucher, the partially $2,112.50, as well as $111,155.15.
Very good.
Second.
Yeah, I apologize too, Mr. Hardaway. I didn't turn
I
the
didn't
page.
see the second
I
page.
didn't turn the page either.
Yeah. We probably don't really need to read the amounts anyway, do we? Just approve the voucher that's on here? Anyway, motion by Mr. Hardaway. Mr. Pettit, your second?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Thank you, Trista, for pointing that out.
Exactly.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now moving on to new business, Sheila worked with Matt and Steve. I think Matt did the yeoman's work on this request for qualifications. This is to get the ball rolling on a traffic study, engineering and transportation planning, consulting services for Whitcomb Street from 91st Avenue to US 30. When I talked to Sheila and staff, I mentioned that unless we get started with an engineering study, we will just keep talking about Whitcomb Street and never get anything going. So this will start the ball rolling for us so we know and get recommendations as far as what really needs to be done there on Whitcomb, Sean, as
Yeah.
far as
Yeah, and
whatever that looks like, a couple roundabouts or straightening out the curve or whatever that would be. This is the first.
And we saw this, Marge and Jeff and I saw this at the Plan Commission workshop when Mr. Paul brought in his subdivision request for single-family and paired villas on the other side of the bike path.
Right.
And it got all of us thinking, I think, Madam President, you were running the meeting. It's just with Liberty Estates and now with this, although I believe, Sheila, that Mr. Paul did not advertise his public hearing for a week from tonight, correct?
Yes, he's decided to defer until we work through some of these issues with the Whitcomb Street.
Actually, at that Plan Commission meeting, I made the recommendation that representatives from the Plan Commission, the council, and the two developers for that area have a sit-down meeting and just talk about all our options and what we can or can't do, because I know we're all a big part of it.
Oh, sure, I know.
So I think that would be the best bet at this time.
Well, at this time, if it's proper, Joe, I'd like to just ask for a motion that we approve the request for qualifications to send this out to qualified companies and start getting back quotes for us to consider. So when we do sit down with these developers, we actually have some good hard numbers and ideas to talk about.
That would be appropriate.
Sure.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Pettit with a second by Mrs. Uzelak. Put this out for bid on qualifications. Mr. Pettit, would you amend your motion to also include and for the town to investigate proper funding on how we'd pay for this?
Absolutely amended.
Uzelak, your motion stand? Your second, Nazim?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did you vote, Mr. White?
I didn't get a chance to.
Would you like to vote, sir?
Yes.
Well, how would you like to vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Motion carries. I need to explain why Mr. Minchuk is wearing his favorite color, blue, T-shirt supporting autism awareness. We had to change our schedule for tonight, and at our next council meeting, we will have a proclamation, and we're going to honor Ben's Blue Bags. He's from Crown Point, and our fire department will be here to help us explain that. We'll have a proclamation, and we all have blue shirts there, so please plan on wearing those at our next council meeting in support. And Jeff is not going to make the next council meeting, unfortunately, so he wore a shirt tonight. So, thank you, Jeff. Next item is public comment. Is there any public comment this evening? Please approach the podium, state
Mr.
your name. Mr. White.
Number 14, did we talk about, oh, that's a special presentation you're talking about?
There's no special presentations tonight.
Okay, I just seen it on the agenda, so I,
Just an extra category.
It's just on the agenda,
Case.
just like old business or new business or anything.
okay, I get
Mr.
it.
President, might I address the crowd here tonight?
Oh,
I
Mr.
do not have the remote for our little time clock.
Oh, okay.
So I will be keeping it on my phone.
It's right here on our new handy dandy remote drawer that I
We
had
have a secret
installed.
drawer now.
I was wondering what that was. I saw that at the Economic Development Committee meeting,
Is that
and
it? No.
No weapons in there, is it?
no, I didn't want to press anything.
I don't know if it's
Ejectors.
not here.
Right.
Just use your phone.
I'll
Use
use the
your
phone.
phone.
State your name and address for the record, please, Brian, and we'll give you 3 minutes to talk.
Brian Messarch, 201 East 68th Place. I'd like to point out that Mr. Svetnov has never been appointed for this year to be the town attorney. That's supposed to happen by law. First meeting of January, it did not occur.
Actually, we did at the special meeting on December 30th when we celebrated the town's birthday.
I certainly appreciate, Mr. President, that you break the law, but it's in law for a reason. Follow it. If you want people to cut their grass the way the law says, then maybe town council should follow the law.
Thank you for pointing that out, sir. Appreciate that.
I am really terribly aggravated as I do research into the TIF zones that Merrillville has. Because what we don't talk about is Crow Holdings is building warehouses in a TIF zone, which means tax dollars are being used to pay this developer to build that warehouse. Those utilities would not need to be there if those warehouses were not there, because those cornfields don't need new NIPSCO substations. You know what that area needs? That area needs a police and a fire station. That's what that area needs. We should be asking these companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, hey, we have a kitty, we have a desire to have a new police station, new fire station. How about you chip in and, and then build your business here? We need other communities coming to our 4th of July parade so they know what the new fire and police equipment looks like, so that they know we need to put this on our budget. But you know what our economic development and redevelopment is not doing? Anything north of 63rd Avenue. That's what we're not doing. Everything's down on the Crown Point line. How come we don't have beautification programs or anything up north of 61st? Mr. White, Mr. Hardaway, those are your...
Do I want to take this, Mr. President, as president of the Redevelopment Commission?
Well, you can help educate, absolutely. Yeah.
First of all, Brian, the silos at Sanders Farm is located in the Mississippi Street TIF district. That has about a $14 million bond issue that we've used for federal local match in widening that road. The 2 buildings that Mr. Cruz has built in Ameriplex is in the Broadway TIF allocation area. He bought the land from Holiday Corporation and Purdue Research Foundation, which is a 50-50 partnership for Ameriplex at the Crossroads. Holiday was given the bonding. We gave them $10 million back in 2007. They put in Georgia Street, they put in Connecticut Street, they put in 99th. We widened 101st Avenue from Georgia to Broadway with the remainder of that bond issue. That was a developer-backed bond when property tax collections were very poor in Lake County. Since then, we've refinanced that. We got a lower rate on that bond. We paid that bond off. Holiday came to us and asked us, could we bond again for other roads in there around Amazon, which is paying a full tax bill, by the way, and paying 100% into the town of Merrillville. No one else sees the Amazon tax bill but us. We get 100% of that money. The reason there's nothing north of 61st Avenue was at the time, back in 1997, when they established the Merrillville Road TIF and the Mississippi Street TIF, they wanted to improve those corridors, and we have to go get the blessing of the 5 taxing districts, and the county commissioners and the Merrillville School Corporation felt it was important to improve Merrillville Road from US 30 down to 93rd Avenue, and they also felt it was important to improve the Mississippi Street corridor as an alternate for bus traffic when I-65 or Broadway got clogged. So there's never been the initiative to expand the TIF districts beyond their boundaries. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Pat, you're allowed to expand a TIF district by 19.9%. So we have expanded it to the south. We have not expanded Broadway TIF to the north, no.
Thank you, Mr. Pettit. I've spent the past few days painstakingly mapping out in Google Maps the TIF zones, so I know exactly where they are. That's actually something that someone from the town of Merrillville ought to do, so that residents can go and look at.
We do have a map on the GIS, do we not, Matt?
Yeah, we do.
We do.
Where's that located?
We're required to by state law when we turn in the economic development plan, and our financial advisor, London Whitty, goes down to the county auditors to make sure each parcel is contained in the TIF district so that we get the correct collection in our draw in January and in July.
That's available online for people?
Yes.
If you can't find it, email me.
I don't need to find it. I came and got a printout Thank you. I appreciate it. My point is, and Mr. Bella actually made it very clear a long time ago, is communication. We don't have transparency, and we don't have a fair information exchange. And so being in a TIF district and our tax dollars going for that, and then giving a tax abatement, that's like double dipping. And what we don't hear is, you know what, our school system actually gets money from property taxes. So we're going to cheat the school system for 10 years.
With all due respect, Brian, we give $355,000 a year off the top of our draw to the Merrillville Community School Corporation for a career counseling program. We've been doing that, Rich, for 7 years now? 7 years now.
We can go back and forth all day, but it's not a good deal. And that's what I'm aggravated about. It is absolutely not. TIF districts across the nation are going to the wayside. Having a TIF and having TIF-backed bonds is the highest and most risky type of bond to have. It also has huge amounts of administrative fees. It's just the facts. Why don't we just put the cards on the table, we'll put it on the website, and people can come look. Here are the numbers. Do you think this is a good deal? That's all I'm asking. All I'm asking is for the information so that we can have the discussion. I, right now, don't have all the information, so maybe I have a misguided opinion. But I don't have the information, and now I got to go dig for it. Thank you.
Brian, excuse me. I know that you were in the building, week and a half ago, asking about TIFs, and that's fine. Before you leave, make sure I have your telephone number. Let's just set an appointment, and we'll sit down. That is Angie, myself, and we'll start to answer any questions that you might have. And if we don't have the answers, then we'll get them for you.
Let me know, Pat. I'll sit in on that, too.
That's fine.
The biggest issue with TIFs is there's no reporting. And what all the funds collected and the tax dollars collected by a TIF zone goes to the redevelopment commission. It doesn't go to the town. And the redevelopment commission has the power to spend that, not the town. Am I incorrect about that?
Yes, but Brian, keep in mind that the 5 members of the redevelopment commission are all town council members appointed by the town council president.
And that's by law, too.
And that's by law as well.
Oh, by the way, by law, those people should not. It's called a conflict of interest. How can you have a redevelopment commission provide a check and balance to the Merrillville Town Council when all the town council members are on the, that doesn't make any sense. The point is to be a check and balance.
Not our choice. We can't change it.
We have time now anyway. Thank you.
Brian, please get me your phone number, please.
I appreciate the help, and I look forward to sitting down with everybody. Thank you.
Great. Is there any other public comment tonight?
Sabina Miller, 3120 West 75th Place. There was a discussion earlier about new user fees, and I completely have no idea what you guys were talking about. Is that something that we can find out what these?
Yeah, I'll give you a copy of it after the meeting. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
It's user fees at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center.
Oh, okay, so they're going to be new user fees. Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
well, adjusted and some new, just new terminology, things like that. So that's what it's
Okay.
about.
Okay.
So we'll make sure you get that.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up, just because it was a major discussion on this council tonight, is waste management. Now, I've lived in a number of places in my life, and I was under all kinds of waste, garbage pickups. And I can tell you that waste management actually, at least where I live, provides the best service I have ever seen in a garbage pickup. I actually recently gave them a 5-star review, and they responded because they were really happy about it. They're extremely good at communicating. They were the first ones that I knew that actually put out a full-blown email telling us exactly what's recyclable and what not, which the other communities don't do. And if anybody pays attention, if you put something in the recyclables that is actually not on the allowed list, you will spoil the whole batch. It used to be that China took all of our recycling sight unseen, but that stopped, and that caused a huge grief to the communities, obviously. Now, when you're saying that the truck has stuff coming out, there are two reasons for it. Number one, you can't put your recycling in plastic bags because that'll spoil the batch, so everything is loose. Number two, there are actually a bunch of, if you drive around, you'll see that a lot of people totally overpack their garbage cans, so the lid already stands up, all kinds of stuff will blow, and the moment they'll pick that up, of course it'll blow. Now, it's a one-man operation. If you have a two-man operation, you're going to pay respectively more, and that means all of us will respectively pay more for the garbage pickup, because then somebody has to run after the truck and pick it up. But I believe that the bigger problem is actually how our residents put their garbage out, and less so what happens after waste management comes by. I understand your 5:30 point. I'm not out there at 6 o'clock in the morning putting my garbage can out, because I'll do it in the evening. But that is probably the most valuable point of those, because some people will be out in the morning. But I want to put that out in support of waste management. I actually appreciate their pricing and their service, and they've always been punctual. And the little bit that blows out, I just pick it up and put it back in my garbage can. And I think if every resident did that, there wouldn't be any complaints about it. That's all I have tonight.
Hello, my name is Eric January. I live at 3031 West 58th Avenue, Merrillville. I just wanted to comment. I'm so glad to hear, first of all, that you all talking about the trash, because that's the whole thing that brought me out today. I believe, probably complained to the town engineer about 57th Street, Harrison Street. I mean, it's just absolutely embarrassing to see trash out on the streets like this. And I'm so glad that you all are addressing it. I just hope that you stay on top of waste management, but not just the waste management. I think that maybe we should have a spring clean. I used to live on the north side of Chicago, and every single year we had a spring clean where the neighbors got out. The town may have provided the bags, and we cleaned up a lot of the trash. Because when you go down Hendrick Street, it's an absolute mess in terms of tires and all sorts of trash at the train tracks and stuff like that. But we really need to address it because it's bad for the community. And Matt, I thank you for providing the information about how the TIF works, because the last time I was here, I was really, I still think it's discrimination, first of all, that a big guy can get a tax break. But the way you explained it, it does make sense, because some additional money is coming into the city temporarily, and it's not just a complete giveaway to the city. So I just wanted to mention those two things, but the thing that brought me here today was the trash. If we could just really take care of the trash, I don't care if we have to go to Republic or whoever it is, and change that, make that change if we're going to make that change. But I think a large part, because they cleaned up 57th Street, and I drive by there every day allowing my son to get driving hours just so he can get his driver's license, taking him to school. And they cleaned it up in a week. In less than 3 weeks, it's already looking dirty again. So a lot of it is the mentality of the residents, and not just the fact that the town may not necessarily be doing the best job picking up the trash, because they cleaned that street and it's already dirty again. So maybe we need to put some signs out, some trash cans or something, keep your parks clean or whatever. And then some of the residents that have property, we should encourage them to pick up the trash that's in their yard, because the city is not going to do that. But whatever we can do to just keep Merrillville clean. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment tonight?
Mr. President, real quick.
Mr. Minchin.
The gentleman just sparked my memory. I remember when I was a kid growing up in Turkey Creek, they used to have every spring a giant dumpster at the end of the block every spring for the neighborhood to get rid of any large materials or spring cleaning or anything like that. Maybe that's something we can think about when we renegotiate for the new contract, something like that.
Sure.
Be beneficial for the neighborhoods.
Very good. Moving on to announcements tonight. We have the Plan Commission meeting on April 19th at 6:30. The next RDC meeting is April 26th at 6 o'clock. And the Town Council meeting for later in the month is April 26th at 6:30.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion from Mr. White, multiple seconds to adjourn. All in favor?
Multiple.
All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Ay, ay, ay.
I hope I did that correctly.